Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and welcome to the University of York. I declare open this ceremony for the conferment of awards.
Chancellor, it is my privilege today to speak in honor of a great creative talent, a woman who has often been credited with launching an entire genre of literature with her novel, Bridget Jones's Diary, Helen Fielding. It is appropriate that we recognize her here today at the University of York, not only because of her tremendous influence on popular culture, not only because her work has launched 1,000 scholarly debates about what feminism means today, but because her return to Yorkshire to accept this award is a homecoming for her. She grew up in Morley, West Yorkshire, on the outskirts of Leeds. Fielding attended Wakefield Girls' High School and studied English at St. Anne's College, Oxford, where she became friends with a group of comic performers and writers that included future comedy scriptwriter Richard Curtis and the future Mr. Bean, Rowan Atkinson. These friendships continued after she completed her studies and began working at the BBC, first as a regional researcher, then as a production manager, and led to her pivotal role in the establishment of one of the UK's most renowned charities, a charity that uses comedy to raise money and change lives in Africa and in the UK, Comic Relief, perhaps now best known for its iconic Red Nose Day. It was Helen Fielding who produced the broadcast that launched the charity in 1985, a live satellite broadcast from a refugee camp in eastern Sudan. This experience and research she conducted for documentaries on Africa culminated in her first critically acclaimed novel, Cause Célèbre, in 1994, which was set in a refugee camp in a fictional country in East Africa and satirized the relationship between celebrities and refugees. In 1995, as Helen Fielding was working on her second novel, also set in a fictional African country, she was approached by The Independent to write an autobiographical column about something completely different, life as a single woman in London. Fielding then made a counter-proposal to portray life as a single woman in London, but through the eyes of a hapless, comic, fictional character, and thus Bridget Jones was born. The column became an overnight sensation. Her publisher asked her to set aside her novel in progress and instead write one about Bridget Jones. That 1996 novel, Bridget Jones's Diary, was based on the outline of Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice and even featured a Mr. Darcy, Mark Darcy, as one of Bridget's love interests. Bridget Jones's Diary and its 1999 sequel, Bridget Jones, The Edge of Reason, based on the outline of Jane Austen's last novel, Persuasion, have sold over 15 million copies across 40 countries. Successful films followed in 2001 and 2004. In 2013, after a hiatus of more than a decade, Helen Fielding wrote a third Bridget Jones novel, Mad About the Boy, which debuted at #1 on the Sunday Times bestseller list and features Bridget Jones now as a widow in her 50s. And in September, so coming soon, we will be introduced to a fourth Bridget Jones story, Bridget Jones' Baby, a film based on the 2005-06 revival of Fielding's column for The Independent that features Bridget at the age of 43 and bridges the gap between the second and the third novels. But let's return to the first two Bridget Jones books and films. Their impact on popular culture in the late 20th and early 21st centuries is enormous. In fact, some credit Fielding with establishing the genre now known as chick lit, one of the most successful genres today in a struggling fiction industry. But Fielding has also left her mark on literary scholarship through a particularly fraught question: where does Bridget Jones stand in relation to feminism? For example, Bridget is often taken to task by feminist writers for consistently choosing unattainable goals, often inspired by self-help books, and then berating herself when she cannot attain them. But as Professor Kelly A. Marsh points out, one of the things that Fielding does in her books and in the films is explode the myth that the self can and should be completely remade. The film version of Bridget Jones' Diary emphasizes this point in a pair of scenes in which first Mark Darcy and then Bridget herself admit to liking each other just the way they are. Each time Bridget comes close to achieving one of her goals and has the opportunity to compare herself to the perfect image she envisions, she likes herself better. Fielding also demythologizes the notion of self-reliance. As Marsh writes, Bridget's voice is authentic because it reveals what we all know but rarely face. Control is a myth. And the experience of being out of control and of being forced into mutually dependent relationships is authentic. And this is not only authentic, but a good thing, as expressed by New Labour in the mid-1990s when Fielding was first writing her columns. As Tony Blair put it at the time, "We are not stranded in helpless isolation, but owe a duty to others and to ourselves, and are, in a profound sense, dependent on each other to succeed." I suspect that this is one of the keys to Bridget Jones' long-standing appeal. Chancellor, I have the honor to present to you Helen Fielding for the degree of Doctor of the University, honoris causa.
Through the power vested in me by the University of York, I have great pleasure in conferring upon you the degree of Doctor of the University, honoris causa.
Well, thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. I feel very, very clever now, and even more clever now I've got this. And it really is a huge honour for me. And it's a wonderful day for all of us here today. Parents, students, professors, Chancellor, Vice-Chancellor. Thank you so much to all of you, and I hope everyone today is feeling very proud indeed of themselves. This particularly means a lot to me because I, and indeed Bridget Jones, I suppose in her way, grew up in Yorkshire. My values were formed here in Yorkshire, and also certain areas of myself which are happily concealed beneath this lovely robe, which are made up of Yorkshire pudding, fish and chips, various lard-based desserts and cakes from Betty's Cafe. I think as well as the great education you've had here, you're also very fortunate to have had several years of these puddings, but also a big slice of Yorkshire humour and values. These values are always summed up for me by an occasion many years ago in Leeds Grand Theatre when there was a rather overblown performance of Swan Lake. And they designed a rather fancy swan which was supposed to glide across the stage with fluttering ballerinas inside. But unfortunately it got stuck halfway across, and someone in the back row shouted out, "What's up with duck then?" To me, that's what Yorkshire humour and values are about, taking something pretentious or awkward or painful, or something which isn't really the point, and bringing it down to earth with a laugh, and a sense that nothing and no one is perfect. We're all human and flawed. We're all in it together, and we're all able to laugh at ourselves. I've been 35 for a number of years now. However, I did see the last gasp of Yorkshire industrial life: steel, coal and cloth. I grew up surrounded by the values of a mill town, and those values were kindness, honesty, hard work, resilience, and a sense of humour and fun. I saw those industries collapse and those values challenged by a new era where celebrity, charm, being rich or pretty or thin, or having an enormous handbag, began to seem as if they mattered more. Well, they don't. Hold on to the values that you've learnt here in Yorkshire. Because wherever you go, even in the fanciest places, even in Hollywood, people respect those values. They'll keep your feet on the ground and they'll give you staying power. People respect them, even if they don't respect our puddings. It's very nice to see so many 20-somethings, 30-somethings, all looking so gorgeous and so full of life and possibility. I really like being around young people, but I'm also quite concerned that there is quite a lot of worry and anxiety that doesn't need to be there. Where am I going? Am I going fast enough? Am I good enough? Am I pretty enough? Am I as good as I should be? And I think this is quite a tough time to be young. There's so much around about image. I see pictures of myself sometimes in magazines and think, oh, I wish I looked like that. And then I think, wait, it's me, I've been airbrushed. And you're living in a world where technology is the fifth element. Facebook and Snapchat and all these sites, they're not really about people saying what they feel. They're about people showing off and presenting their best side more often. Popularity is about how many likes or followers you've got, more than who is warm or kind or a good friend. I myself have been a Twitter victim. I set up an account, discovered that the more I tweeted, the more the followers went away. So I know what it's like. And I know that it's important too, even though this is a day for us all to celebrate, that one of the tricks to being successful in life is knowing how to fail and get up again. We get to fail, and everybody fails sometimes. When I was about your age, I wrote my first novel, and I was very, very proud of it. It was called Fires of Zanzibar. It was set in a refugee camp, and it was a romance. I submitted it to Mills and Boon, and a few weeks later I got a letter back saying that neither my characters nor my story were up to the high standards demanded by the Mills and Boon reader. When I look back at it, I rather saw their point, because the final scene was a sort of handsome doctor and beautiful young nurse standing in the middle of the African bush, and he pulled her against him roughly, and then she looked at him questioningly, and he said, "It's all right, it isn't a snake." For a long time I was in a huff about my literary rejection and gave up writing completely and refused to have anything to do with it. But then I got over myself and started again, and it's worked out all right, and I now have an honorary degree from the University of York. So I haven't finished. I think as long as we all keep our sense of humour about ourselves and keep that little bit which says, when something ridiculous or humiliating is happening, what's up with duck then we'll all be all right. And this is now a day to enjoy our success, drink a bit too much Chardonnay soon, I hope, and eat way too many puddings. I'd like to say congratulations to everybody in this room. Thank you, this really means a lot to me, and hats off to us all.
Chancellor. Baron Hague of Richmond, William Hague, was born in Rotherham, Yorkshire. You'll spot a clue to the connection here. He was educated at Wath-upon-Deane Comprehensive before going up to Oxford to read PPE. Having graduated with first-class honours and served as president of the Oxford Union, Lord Hague went to study for an MBA degree at INSEAD. A brief period as a management consultant at the McKinsey & Company preceded what is now a long and distinguished political career, marked by both an early start and a very rapid ascent. Elected to Parliament in 1989 for the seat of Richmond, North Yorkshire, he was quickly appointed to the government as Parliamentary Under-Secretary of State at the Department of Social Security, and then Minister of State with responsibility for social security and disabled people, and then Secretary of State for Wales. Keen to avoid the embarrassment suffered by his predecessor of having to mouth the words of the Welsh national anthem, Lord Hague had his private secretary, Fionn Jenkins, teach him. It's, I guess, credit to the romance of the Welsh language that they were married a few years later. When elected at age 27, Lord Hague was the youngest Conservative Member of Parliament, and on becoming Secretary of State at 34, he became the youngest Cabinet Minister since Harold Wilson in 1947. 2 years after that, following the 1997 election at which Tony Blair swept to power, Lord Hague became the leader of the Conservative Party. At 36, he was the youngest leader of a major political party in the United Kingdom for 200 years. He resigned after the 2001 general election and returned to the backbenches, where he used his time to write two critically acclaimed political biographies, one of William Pitt the Younger and one of William Wilberforce. Following David Cameron's election as leader of the Conservative Party, Lord Hague returned to the front benches as Shadow Secretary of State for Foreign and Commonwealth Affairs, and then as Secretary of State after the 2010 general election. As a senior statesman, he led the negotiations with the Liberal Democrats in creating the coalition government. Finally, in July 2014, he declared his intentions to step down from frontline politics at the 2015, the recent general election, and became leader of the House of Commons for his final 10 months in government. He was ennobled in the dissolution honours list and took as his title Richmond, where he had served for 29 years as an MP. Those of you of a certain age will remember, in 1977, in a speech in which elements of his now legendary skills as a public speaker were on show, a very, very young William Hague teased the Conservative Party conference audience by pointing out that many of them would be gone in 30 years. Nearly 40 years later, I wonder if he is surprised by his own longevity, not in person, but in politics. From the landmark Disability Discrimination Act in 1995, to the reforms he instituted within the Conservative Party as leader, to the campaign to save the pound when British membership of the euro was in play, to his most recent role as Foreign Secretary in what has been a turbulent period across the Middle East and Europe, Lord Hague has been a central figure in modern British politics. And beyond Britain, he has recently combined with Angela Jolie Pitt in launching the Preventing Sexual Violence Initiative, the aims of which are to address the culture of impunity that exists for crimes of sexual violence in conflict and to increase the number of perpetrators held to account. A lifelong Eurosceptic, Lord Hague nevertheless declared for Remain in the recent referendum, perhaps indicating a certain pragmatism, a certain making the best of it. And that brings me to my final point, which is that Lord Hague is a Yorkshireman. Indeed, according to David Cameron, in a speech that was clearly not vetted by Geoffrey Boycott, Lord Hague is the greatest living Yorkshireman. It strikes me that's a bit like Monty Python's Messiah. Only the true Messiah would deny his divinity. I think you can't really deny being the greatest living Yorkshireman, because only the greatest living Yorkshireman would deny being the greatest living Yorkshireman. So it is, as a great Yorkshireman, a great parliamentarian and politician, and a fine writer, Chancellor, that I am honoured to present Lord Hague for the degree of Doctor of the University, honoris causa.
By virtue of the power vested in me by the University of York, it gives me great pleasure to confer upon you the degree of Doctor of the University, honoris causa.
Well, thank you. That was also an extremely nice introduction, and all of it true, unfortunately. I really did give the speech nearly 40 years ago, telling people they wouldn't be there in 40 years' time. And now I've gone and some of them are still there. And I really did, when John Major appointed me Secretary of State for Wales in 1995, he said, I want you to take Wales to your heart. And a year later, when I told him I was marrying my Welsh private secretary, he said, I think you're taking this a little bit too literally. But it was very nice, Matt, of you to recall so many things. And it's a very great honour to accept this honorary degree, this award, and an immense pleasure to do so from such a highly reputed university. Here, indeed, in my own home county of Yorkshire. And in Yorkshire, as Helen has reminded us, we are known for meaning what we say and what we do. It often makes us very blunt. When I was first elected an MP, a farmer came up to me and said, listen here, young William, because everybody called me young William for a very long time. He said, listen here, young William, if ever you meet a satisfied farmer or a dead donkey, sit on it, because you'll never see another one in your life. And I never have seen a dead donkey. And not many satisfied farmers, indeed. But the fact that we're known for meaning what we say and do, not just for being polite, means that when we give each other something, it means more. So I thank you and I congratulate everyone else receiving their awards today, particularly the students who have worked hard for this moment. And to them I say that you now go on to your next adventure and stage of life with the great advantage of either being from or being educated in the north of England. I was once asked on Radio 4 if I ever felt socially inferior to anyone as a result of coming from Rotherham. And I replied that I'd met most of the kings, princes and presidents in the world by now, but being educated at Wath-on-Dearn Comprehensive School, I'd never felt inferior to any of them. Success in life is much more based on attitude, persistence, and literally showing up in the right place and working hard than it is on connections or family. And being in York brings to mind for me my own Yorkshire hero, who provided an inspirational example of these qualities, William Wilberforce. His refusal to be defeated over 20 years of setbacks led ultimately to the abolition of the slave trade. On one occasion in 1795, on hearing that an unhelpful meeting was to assemble here in York, he rushed from London in a borrowed carriage, reaching Ferry Bridge after 36 hours and entering the Castle Yard here in York the next day to rouse a crowd of 4,000 with no amplification or loudspeakers and confound his opponents. It was rare then to get from London to York in 48 hours, and there have been days on our modern trains when it feels like it still is. But this was the sort of energy employed over a lifelong effort to end the terrible crimes committed through slavery. And I've often felt the inspiration of such campaigners in urging on some of my own work. I'm proud to have been the author of the Disability Discrimination Act of 1995. And I continue my work now, as has been mentioned, on the prevention of sexual violence in conflict and the eradication of the illegal wildlife trade. And I hope whatever you choose to work on in future years, you will be fortified, as I am, by the knowledge that seemingly impossible obstacles have been overcome before, and sometimes by our predecessors here in Yorkshire. So I wish great fortune and success to the graduates today and to this outstanding university. Thank you very much indeed.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ensemble E Honorary will perform Ubi Caratus by Maurice de Rufflet, followed by I Get Around by the Beach Boys.
See bug traveling up and down the same old strip. I gotta find a new place, cause the police are hip. My buddies and me are getting real well known. Yeah, the bad guys know us and they leave us alone. I get around, round, round, I get around. 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 I get around. Get around, round, round. Wah, 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 wah. We always take my car, cause we've never been beat and we've never misled with the girls we need. None of the guys go steady, cause it wouldn't be right to leave the best girl home on a Saturday night. I get around, round, round, I get around. 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 I get around. Get around, I get around. Get around, round, round, 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 I get around. I get around.
As we celebrate the achievements of students, we also wish to recognise the staff who have contributed to your success. York has an outstanding record of teaching excellence. What students will remember long after graduation are the individual members of staff and postgraduates who teach, who have supported, challenged and inspired them. The Vice-Chancellor's Teaching Awards recognise and reward both individuals and teams who have made an outstanding impact on the student learning experience. All holders of these awards have demonstrated excellence in their teaching or the support for learning, delivered with energy, care and commitment. A Vice-Chancellor's Teaching Award has been made to Dr. Michelle Alexander from the Department of Archaeology. The Vice-Chancellor's Teaching Award has been made to Dr. Sarah Perry from the Department of Archaeology. And a Vice-Chancellor's Teaching Award has been made to Dr. Alison O'Byrne from the Department of English and Related Literature. A Vice-Chancellor's Teaching Award for a postgraduate student who teaches has been made to Tom Fitton from the Department of Archaeology, who's unable to be here today. We congratulate him on his achievement too.
Chancellor, I have the honour to present the following candidates for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Archaeology. For research in late medieval industrialisation and Catholicism, Paul Belford. For research in lifeways at the Mesolithic-Neolithic transition, Sophie Charlton. For research in archaeological excavation and publication, Timothy Evans. For research in prehistoric burial practices, Emily Hellawell. For the degree of Master of Arts in Conservation Studies, Historic Buildings, Angela Creswick. For the degree of Master of Arts in Cultural Heritage Management, Sophia Laird. Sue Savage. Claudia Strange. For the degree of Master of Science in Archaeological Information Systems, Eileen Kerhuong. For the degree of Master of Science in Bioarchaeology, Rosemary Freeman. For the degree of Master of Science in Digital Heritage, Scarlett Williams. For the degree of Bachelor of Arts in Archaeology, Ottoline Airy. Melina Amin. Anastasia Burke. Paul Durdin. Edward Fotheringham. Tess Golding. James Green. Stuart Henderson. Laura Hodgson. Sam Hudson. Douglas Kirk-Bellamy. Freya Lawson-Jones. Patrick Mayer. Golfo Migos. Hazel Neeson. Jasmine Parnaby. Sarah Peacock. Rebecca Robson. Emma Samuel. Kate Scott. Eleanor Scott. Nathan Sleaford. Charlotte Warrington. Matthew Warrington. Edwin Wyatt. Mark Williams. Amy Wright. James Wright. For the degree of Bachelor of Arts in Heritage Studies, Alexandra Baker. Katrina Gargett. Elizabeth Jobson. For the degree of Bachelor of Arts in Historical Archaeology, Nathan Bishop. Hope Cass. Benedict Clark. Eve Coates. Simon Corner. Hazel Durling. Simon Firminger. Zach Goodall. Daniela Hazel. Eva Himple. Oliver Howe. Sean Massey. Kate Morris. Joe Ridout. Olivia Sharrard. Kirsty Skitt. Michael Stevens. Monique Stone. Ferdinand von Holstein. Isaac Wallace. Sarah Wright. For the degree of Bachelor of Science in Archaeology, Kieran Barry. Sally Bowie. Georgina Collier. Danielle Peter. Callum Scott. Amy Smith. Jessica Waters. For the degree of Bachelor of Science in Bioarchaeology, Sofia Chikova. Victoria Crowther. Amore Daysil. Tom Frayne. Connor Grogan. Tallulah Monticelli. Naomi Nash. Jolene Shagers.
Chancellor, I have the honour to present the following candidates for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in English. For research in computational models in literature and culture, Rebecca Barnes. For research in hydropolitics in Israeli and Palestinian literature, Hannah Boast. For research in 20th century literature and philosophy, Tim Lawrence. For research in adaptations of the Arthurian legend for children, Ellie McCausland. For research in plurality in Finnegan's Wake, Gabrielle Ringley. For the degree of Master of Arts in English Literary Studies, Marcel Weiss. For the degree of Bachelor of Arts in English, Chloe Abbey. Kate Adams. Kimberly Armand. Fabia Anwar. Sasha Arnott. Faye Bailey. Shaska Bain. Emma Beale. Molly Frances Bell. Dean Bennell. Charlotte Benson. Jasmine Batt. Rosie Bird Smith. Matthew Birtles. James Bolton. Sophie Breer. Lydia Brecknell. Megan Brickley. Eleanor Bridger. Evie Brill Pufford. Sophie Brocklebank Fowler. Joanna Brooke. Benjamin Brown. Rachel Burns. Grace Capps. Alice Caprio. Kelsey Chambers. Molly Cheek. Louis Chilton. Sophie Church. Emma Claydon. Emily Clifton. Victoria Constantinides. Elizabeth Cook. Loretta Cooper. Gishamina Correa. Emma Cottrell. Madeline Cramond. Danielle Daly. Joshua Darcy. Rebecca Darling. Alex Davey. Jess Denford. Marta Donati. Liam Dooley. Pippa Driver. Rebecca Duncan. Joshua Eaton. Anfisa Erseeva. James Esler. Louise Essex. James Fellows. Rebecca Fletcher. Anna Friend. Stephanie Gabat. Zoe Galvin. Emily Gardner. Poppy Garrett. Jessica Geddes. Hagar Gaula. Catherine Gregory. Thomas Haddon. Nina Hakovieta. Sinead Hammond. Jamila Hamza. Amber Harcourt. Catherine Elizabeth Hastings. Daisy Hatton. Noor Ulhan Hemani. Abigail Hettel. Charlie Hill. Samuel Hill. Fleur Hove. Andrew Hooley. Lucy Horsman. Lewis Howlett. Intorn Hudson. Amy Hughes. Holly Hunt. Afrain Hussain. Alice Eilif Miller. Benjamin Jacobson. Emily Jago. Minna Jeffrey. Henrietta Jennings. Sherelle Johannes. Miriam Johnson. Megan Johnston. Alice Jones. Robert Jones. Sam Kaufman. Shauna Kavanagh. Zora Khan. Deborah Lam Kahe. Dechen Lama. Rebecca Lazarin de Moraes. Catherine Leach. Abigail Lewis. Sophie Lockett. Emma Loft. Grace Lomas. Beatrice Lord. Eleanor Lord. Holly Maiden. Bianca Marcu. Kate Marshall. Molly McKelwey. Jacob Miller. Alice Maloney. Ethan Morgan. Thomas Morgan. Charlotte Moran. Julia Katarina Munkes. Anna Murphy. Gemma Nash. Jack Nelson. Liffey O'Brien. Mary O'Connell. Olivia Althwaite. Charlotte Owens. Chloe Papandreou. Grace Parker. Elizabeth Paul. Harry Pitt Scott. Ellie Powell. Laura Powell. Samuel Price. Tessa Pullen. Abigail Randall. Rita Randerian. Anthony Rickman. Emily Rhodes. Eleanor Robertson. Edward Royal. Sophie Rudge. Monica Saithri Miranda. Ivy Sanchez Vidal. Holly Sanderson. Lena Saraj. Isabel Scott. Beth Sharrock. Madeline Sinclair. Grace Starkey. Madeleine Stone. Emma Svensson. Glenn Taylor. Henry Thorpe. Grace Toller. Carla Tromans. Olivia Turner. Sarah Tuxworth. Matthew Twin. Artemis Vergou. Fiona Warren. Charlie Watson. Shannon Webb. Rebecca Welsh. Emily Welton. Emily Willis. Amy Wong. Laura Wood. Sophie Warning. For the degree of Bachelor of Arts in English and History, Emla Orr. Holly Akehurst. Millie Beach. Jennifer Brown. Bryony Cleary. Charles Dos Santos. Andrew Foster. Jonathan Fry. Alice Jones. Matt James Kohler. Rebecca Christensen White. And Harold Lockwood. Lauren Maggs. Florence Moss. Aderonke Olutunmogum. Harry Rosehill. Helena Eidsvoll Rusten. Daniel Underwood. Niall Whitehead. For the degree of Bachelor of Arts in English and History of Art, Francis Croft Wang. Lily Hannigan. Verity Jackson. Isabel Jaffray. Matilda Nola. Georgia Rose Marshall. Katrin Podgorski. Belinda Quested. Chloe Tucker. Lucy Wageriff. For the degree of Bachelor of Arts in English and Philosophy, Connor Booth. Anna Cardy. Megan Dent. Ingrid Michelle Dyson. Kerry Eakins. Elizabeth Joy Ewanton. Tara Farah. Lauren Favre. Chioma Undujuba. Anna Price. Madia Zeb Sadiq. Caitlin Sherrard. V.S. Wells. For the degree of Bachelor of Arts in English and Politics, Holly Knight. Livy McKee. Alice Philpott. Marie Poupinel. And for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Medieval Studies, for research in interaction between York and the Middle East, Jennifer Bartlett.
I now formally confer awards upon all other graduands who have elected to take their awards in absentia. Thank you. Whew. It falls to me as Chancellor to say a few words and to start, of course, by congratulating again everybody who has just walked across the stage. what a fabulous day. It's a sort of day of celebration when the candidates come into this hall as graduands and they walk out as graduates of this great university. I couldn't be more delighted. I have had an opportunity to learn what subjects people have been taking, those extraordinary PhDs that candidates have spent 3, 4, 5, sometimes more years over, with an exceptional focus on detail and on scholarship. And today we're able to celebrate all of those qualities. I would like to congratulate all of those who managed the red carpet on high heels, which is, by the way, a tribute to the interdisciplinarity of modern engineering science that this can be done. And I would particularly like to thank those girls who congratulated me on my hat. But I should assure you that I'm somewhat of a new Chancellor. This is my first main run at the job. I've succeeded late last year Greg Dyke, who had been Chancellor for 11 years. He was previously the Director General of the BBC and of the Football Association and had huge affection for York, which had taken him in as a young undergraduate and from which he had succeeded beyond all of his expectations in this world because somebody took the care to invest in him, to give him the self-confidence and the ability to have a life that was rich and fulfilling. And for that, great universities deserve great thanks from all of us. So, I'm a novice Chancellor, I'm a trainee, I'm an apprentice, I'm on day release, and it's an exciting opportunity for me. So I thought, well, before I drafted my comments for my remarks this afternoon, I should ask what is the York way? And so I consulted a number of undergraduates in the Department of English as to what was the way that they would prepare for a major presentation or paper. And as a result, I left it until last night. I stayed up late. I got in a large number of bottles, a few friends, some pizzas. We watched movies, and I then did a bit of social media. And about 3 a.m., I froze in panic. I had vast amount of black coffee and managed to stagger here today, as every fine undergraduate would understand. And so I'm very grateful for the York way of preparing for major awards. And in my life, I've sat in just about every seat in these houses. I've sat as a nervous undergraduate, as a postgraduate, as a parent, as a person awarding degrees, even by mistake as an honorary graduate myself. And I can assure you I don't remember a word that any Chancellor ever said at any of those occasions, other than to act as a general sedative on the audience, and that, I think, helps me to understand my function. I do, however, remember vividly an occasion in which one of the undergraduates came across the stage and for some reason had decided to dress up as an elephant, and came humping across the stage, jumping up and down, and the audience were hugely enjoying this until suddenly there was a splintering sound and he disappeared out of sight. There was a hush across the room, broken only by his mother, who said, "Oh, for goodness sake, it's only a stage he's going through." Honorary degrees are the highest awards that a university can make. And there are really 3 important rules. Rule number 1, the recipient has to be a person of the greatest distinction. Rule number 2, no politicians. Rule number 3, unless they're now statesmen. So I think today we have seen those distinctions so beautifully highlighted in the orations to celebrate our 2 honorary graduates, and they deserve our very special congratulations. I did, however, preside at some degree ceremonies in January where we awarded honorary degrees to 2 people in particular whose subsequent stories might be of interest. The first was Armando Iannucci, the author of The Thick of It, this biting, brilliant political satire of modern British politics. Well, we sat him down and we said, "Armando, aren't you going a bit over the top? Isn't this really a parody of what really happens in politics?" Well, I have to hand it to him. It was, if anything, a grotesque understatement. The second recipient was Roy Hodgson, coach of the English football team. When I have to say, over lunch, we gave him an enormous amount of advice on selecting the squad on placement, on the draw, and how he should manage the entire event. And unfortunately, he heeded our advice. And the rest, I'm afraid, is not brilliant, but this should not discourage our honorary graduates today, who I know will continue to flourish. Because we face today a very different world from that even which we faced in January. The Brexit word, I think, is on everybody's mind and a matter of concern for everybody. It reminds me of a story by the late Victoria Wood, that wonderful comedian, and she said, I went a few years ago to one of those parties where we all threw our keys into the middle of the room. And she said, I don't know who got my moped, but I've been enjoying this BMW ever since. It's a bit like that. I think we've got the moped, and it confers upon us a particular set of opportunities and responsibilities. The Brexit agenda, I think, poises us in a moment in time for universities and for British society, when we can either make a complete mess of it or we can make something very positive on it. The threats are there, and I think very visibly there for the universities, vulnerable because of student numbers, vulnerable because of a sense of unease, of concern, of uncertainty, of concern as to whether EU students will continue to enjoy the benefits of an education in this great university and in this country. Concern about the flow of research funding, where the UK has put itself in a very vulnerable position by being by far the biggest winner of research awards in competition across the whole of Europe. And yet, and it's true, the EU has fostered a whole new model of collaborative research across Europe. I think that we have within this and within our grasp an opportunity to seize upon that and to build upon it, whether we are continuing to be members of the EU or not. In my other role, which is as chairman of NHS England, we face a similar deep concern. We have 130,000 employees in the NHS workforce who come from other EU countries. We're desperate to hold on. We have been out deliberately recruiting doctors and nurses from Spain, from Portugal and from Italy to try to strengthen the workforce that provides a unique, universal health service for an entire nation, free of charge at the point of clinical need. And our concern is to be able to maintain that recruitment and to give people the comfort and assurance that Britain is continuing to hold true to its values throughout a rocky and difficult period. We have faced increases, of course, in the cost of drugs, in the cost of medical supplies and equipment, and most of all, the greatest vulnerability in a health system that is based upon taxpayers' investment. A sneeze in the national economy tends to cause the NHS to catch a cold. We need strong economic growth in order to maintain the services that we do. So what is the forward view for all of this? I would suggest the following simple principles. First, the prizes will go to the most agile adapters and fast adapters in an uncertain world, those of us who are able through our institutions to seize the opportunities and to create new relationships and new collaborations with international partners. What we must not lose in our universities and elsewhere is the sense of global leadership in which this nation has taken great pride and which can be tracked right back to the very early years of this great city. I would argue that universities must become the indispensable partners in education and research and take on a global leadership role. New models of pedagogy, new use of technology in education, new interdisciplinary approaches to research, new use of data, new use of artificial intelligence to drive forward our historic function. For the NHS, we have a huge amount of unfinished business in tackling such difficult areas as mental ill health, the gap between physical and mental health and social care and health care, the problems of tackling cancer in a fast-changing world in which we have an increasing incidence of cancer in the community and yet better health outcomes than we've ever had before. Maternity, obesity and diabetes are all issues upon which we're focusing and trying to ensure that the money follows the patient, not that the money follows the hospital or the doctor or the institution. This involves a dramatic improvement and change in the way that we work. But secondly, what's the second challenge? I think it's the vast social opportunity gap that was revealed by the Brexit vote. the dramatic difference in voting patterns between those who had been educated to university level and those who were disadvantaged, the neglected, the impoverished, the people living in a cycle of deprivation in some of our towns and cities. So I'm very keen that we as a university and more generally should be focusing strongly on the opportunity that universities can provide more and more for students who would not have had another chance, and for whom university, as with Greg Dyke, takes them from a career which was uncertain and probably not flourishing, and gives them the tools in which to flourish in a rapidly changing world. And thirdly, what is the world going to look like? I think that we have probably underestimated the potential impact of computing and artificial intelligence, the means by which computers don't get programmed by us, they program themselves and they learn from what they know. I'm told already that audit across companies can now be done much more effectively by algorithms in real time than by human beings in retrospect. We will see a hollowing out of a number of professions where people previously have gone and found ready employment. I think dispute resolution will be another one. The legal profession may yet catch a cold. And we need, therefore, I think, to use Brexit as a catalyst for the UK to lead in fashioning new models of higher and continuing education fit for a fast-changing world of employment. So, where do graduates stand in all of this? I think the first rule is that graduation is not an entitlement to anything. Graduation is a privilege. Education is a privilege of self-improvement. I'm reminded of the graduate student who turned up for his first day at work as a management trainee in a large company. And he turned up early, bright, met the boss. And the boss said, "I'm so delighted, I welcome you to work with this company," and handed him a broom and said, "Now, please, would you first start by sweeping out the shop floor?" And the young man said, "Look, I'm terribly sorry." He said, "I'm a graduate." And the guy said, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I'd forgotten that." He said, "Here, give me back the broom and I'll show you how it works." So we go into an uncertain world, but with the reassurance that a degree from the University of York is as great a support as you can possibly have as you venture further. Many of you will come back and do graduate courses here or in other universities, and that concentration of learning in depth is a remarkable way of ensuring a life that's not only likely to attract employment, but actually is intellectually and culturally fulfilling. On behalf of the entire congregation, I was about to say, it is a congregation, really, isn't it? We're here at a major ceremony, but on behalf of everybody here, I would renew my thanks and congratulations to the graduates today. But before I invite a round of applause, can I just make some other thanks? First, on your behalf, to all the staff, the teaching staff and the other support staff in this institution who have made your presence here today possible. We have some with us in the audience and some on the stage. Would you please join me in expressing our gratitude to everything that they've done? I'd like to say a special word about Inomine. The singers that we had an interlude from. I mean, wasn't that just absolutely superb? So please, could we have a round of applause for them? And it comes to this, the other thing that's made it possible for all of us to be here today has actually been parents, family, supporters, many of whom are in the hall. Will you join me, please stand up and express our thanks to everybody who's made this possible. Thank you so much. As we reach the end of this ceremony, may I just leave two thoughts with you. First, please allow this university to keep in touch with you and to track your great achievements as you go through life. I think that the rite of passage that we have observed today is simply that. It's not a finale, It's a continuing relationship with the University of York. We wish to continue to take pride in everything that you do, and we will try to ensure, secondly, that you can take pride in everything that goes on here in the University of York in the future. I declare closed this ceremony for the award of degrees. Thank you very much.